Hello, everyone. I'm Dufferin County Warden Darren White. I'm joined today by Steve Anderson, Deputy Mayor of Shelburne, County Councillor, and Alethia O'Hara-Stevenson, who is a community member, who is a large presence in the Black community and has been an advocate for anti-racism in our community. Welcome, both of you, today. Thanks for joining me today, and let's talk about the community, the diversity, inclusion, and equity committee that is proposed for county council and things that sort of go in line with that. Who wants to start? Steve, do you want to sort of give us a background?
Sure. I think Alethia is probably in a better position than I, but I'll certainly comment on the fact that Alethia came and made a very strong presentation, and part of her presentation when she introduced the Dufferin Black Canadian Associate, or Dufferin County rather, Black Canadian Associate, talked about the importance of establishing a diversity inclusion committee. And I just thought the timing in light of all of that's been going on around the world, and certainly local to Dufferin County, that the recommendation for that committee was perfect. And so, I'll allow Alethia to maybe comment on maybe the reasoning behind it and why she decided to come to the county with it.
Excellent, thanks.
Perfect, thank you. The reasoning behind the Diversity and Inclusion / Equity Committee, it has been pondering on my mind for quite some time. And, when you look at the demographics of Dufferin County, the face of Dufferin County has changed significantly over the past few years. And so stemming from, the recent events with, from George Floyd to rages right here in Canada, and then a number of other, events that have been taking place, surrounding the Indigenous communities, it just made sense. And when you look at, again, the face of Dufferin County, it's very diverse, very multicultural. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity to establish this committee to be able to tend to the needs of the diverse community, but as well as to fight for equity across the spectrum. And the idea of this committee is to look at all marginalized communities so that we're all inclusive, no one is left out. And so you talked about the fact that, I have a large presence in the Black community. This is more than, just the Black community, is to make sure that as a whole, we are inclusive and we're providing a safe and equitable environment for all. And then of course, the idea would be to have council support. So, probably getting too far ahead, but the idea again would be to have support from council as well as public members participate in this initiative to make sure that, we're looking out for the well-being of Dufferin County.
And Warden, if I may just
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that we all have heard, especially in light of recent events, is a call for action and a need for change. And, people have long moved away from being placated by words and gestures of support, and are looking for long-term and meaningful change. And, so when I made the comment earlier that the recommendation of the committee was timely, is because it allows now for the transition of words into action. And not only action, but long-term action and accountability. Because committees like this, whether we have staff on it, elected officials and stakeholders from the community, ensures that the things that we are talking about, it ensures the things that the community would like to see are going to happen. And there are ways to measure and to ensure that these things actually take place. And so that's why certainly I think it's timely, because it puts us in a position where we're once again demonstrating leadership, and that we're willing to listen and to respond to what the people are looking for.
For sure, I think it's a great point. I mean, we it seems to have a lot of momentum right now, and hopefully we can keep that momentum going. And you're correct about seizing on current events. I mean, I had this discussion this morning. As political leaders, we're often called upon to make a statement when something happens, whether it's an issue of a racialized community or an issue of hate speech or an ethnic slur or whatnot. And what I said was to somebody who said that a lot of politicians had made statements in the last day about a local issue around the LGBTQ community. And we have, and that's great. And I said, but it's very easy for us to make those statements in words. But it's difficult then, where the difficulty often happens is when after we make those statements, is the actions that follow. And that's where many times these things go off the rail. People make a statement and they move on with their life. I'm hopeful that this time it won't stop simply at statements. And I see by the actions of yourselves and other folks that we're really trying to continue the momentum and keep things moving forward.
Mm-hmm. The other point that Warden, that I wanted to highlight, that drove the need to have this committee established is when we look at Dufferin County as a whole, we pride itself in being an equal opportunity employer, and we actually state that on, job applications and postings. But when you look at the demographic of the workforce in Dufferin County, it doesn't reflect the diversity of Dufferin County. So when we put plans in place, the idea would be to hold the organization accountable, so hold Dufferin County accountable so that, if you say that your diversity goal is to have X number of, diverse employees, how are you attaining that goal? What metrics are in place to make sure that you are doing what you say you are going to do? Likewise, we talked about training earlier, to be able to establish a diversity and inclusion training across the board so that everyone is essentially singing from the same song sheet, understands the importance of diversity in our community and in whatever organization that you work for. And there's great stats out there that can support, the importance of having a diverse workforce, or even at the board level. You're sitting at various committees and you look around and you see all the same faces. Well, then you're going to get the same ideas. So having diversity, whether it's diversity between men and women, increases your productivity, and there are stats out there that can support that. When you have diversity that goes a little bit further, that includes age and gender, then the productivity and your profitability increases again. And then you couple that now with diversity from various backgrounds, and again the numbers are quite staggering. So there is data out there to support the need for diversity. And when you talk about, again, attracting talent, when you want to attract top talent, employees or potential employees want to see that you are putting your money where your mouth is, to say, I want to work for an employer that is, attracting, promoting diversity and inclusion. And if I can't see that evident in the workforce, then you potentially will lose your top talented employees. So it goes a long way. It's twofold. And I know I'm talking a lot here, but this is something that I'm quite passionate about, obviously. So it is critical that we get this right and make sure that it's not something that we're talking about just now, but it's for the long term.
Yeah, well, your passion is appreciated. I mean, folks like me, we're going to depend on that passion and that information and those guiding principles, so that we can help enforce and put into place these things. I'm hopeful that this week at County Council we will take the next step past just simply saying we're going to have this committee and direct staff to come back with a terms of reference, that they will go out and speak to stakeholders and whatnot, and come back and sort of tell us exactly how this committee is going to work, what should be on it, who should be with it, and how we're going to move the issue forward. Now it's not the time to delay. It's the time to seize the moment and move forward. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that this week. Steve, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I just did. Well, I guess that, I'm very pleased, and the public should be very pleased of the swift action that the county is taking, being at the county table with the elected officials and with staff, and seeing the need to establish such a committee. So there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes. The public may not be seeing what's happening, but a lot is happening, and I want the viewers to be assured that, again, we've heard, we've listened, and be assured that we're taking the appropriate steps.
Yeah, it's important to keep the ball rolling, and I find myself in the last couple of weeks that, as sad as I am by the tragedies that have happened, I find myself excited at the possibility of making real change in our society as we move forward in all of our communities and society in general. And I think it's a sentiment that hopefully is being found in other municipalities across our province and our country as well, because I think the time is now. I think it really, truly, actually, I think we're beyond the time of when it should have happened, but let's seize the moment and move it forward now, better than some other time in the future. So, anything you wanted to add, Alethia? I know you're passionate, and I just love the passion that you exude when you speak on the issue.
I think we've pretty much covered everything, and I'm very excited about the fact that you're taking action, and council is taking action to move this forward, and I anxiously await next steps.
Excellent. Well, I guess let's leave it at that then, and maybe we can reconvene in a couple of weeks and sort of touch base and see where we are then, and maybe have another chat, and we'll continue to move the ball down the field. Sound good?
Perfect.
Excellent.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me, Steve and Alethia. I look forward to see what the next steps are and how far we can take this. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Warden.
Wonderful. Thank you.